Teaching your dog tricks and playing games with him will not only enhance your relationship, it can also be lots of fun. So let's turn it over to Kellyanne, who will show you some great tricks to teach your dog.
We're going to show you a fun way to teach sit that anyone can use and any dog can learn. Because dogs are usually very eager to work for food, and because it makes learning fun for both of you, you'll need a large amount of bite-sized soft treats. We'll show you how to fade the treats out once your dog understands what you're asking him to do. But for now, have plenty on hand. Keep sessions short, 2 to 3 minutes at a time. You can train during the commercial breaks of your favorite TV shows. If you or your dog is getting frustrated, reward him for doing something right and end your session there. Teach new behaviors in a quiet room, then slowly increase the distractions. Practice in lots of different places and situations, and reward your dog with either toys, petting, playtime, walks, or car rides. Start by putting a yummy treat in your fist. Slowly move your hand from just above your dog's nose and bring it back over his head. As your dog follows the treat, his rear end will lower to the ground. Just as his bottom hits the floor, quietly say yes and give him the treat in your hand. Now if your dog's jumping up to grab the treat, you may be holding it too high. Just bring your hand down closer to his nose and draw it back over his head like a magnet. If his rear end is not lowering to the floor, back him up to a wall or a piece of furniture. Once your dog's reliably sitting when you lure him with the treat, you're ready to start adding the word sit. Just as your dog begins to lower his bottom, say sit. When he does, say yes and give him the treat. Practice this with your dog a couple of times a day for several days. Now you're ready to start asking your dog to sit without a treat in your lure hand. Put a treat in your other hand behind your back. Motion your now empty fist as you did before, from his nose back over his head, and say sit. When your dog sits, say yes and give him the treat from the hand behind your back. Soon you can treat your dog occasionally, and he'll learn to sit just for your praise. Now let's teach your dog to lay down. Start by placing a treat in your hand. Then put your hand in front of your dog's nose and slowly move it down to the floor while slightly motioning forward between his front legs. Just as his belly touches the ground, say yes and give him the treat in your hand. If your dog isn't getting it, practice in the corner of a room. You can also use your legs like a tunnel and use the treat to get him to lie down underneath your legs. Once your dog's reliably lying down when you lure him with the treat, you're ready to start adding the word down. Just as his belly hits the floor, say down. When he does, say yes and give him the treat. Practice this with your dog a couple of times a day for several days. Now you're ready to start asking your dog to down without a treat in your lure hand. Put a treat in your other hand behind your back. Motion your now empty fist as you did before, from his nose down to the floor, and say down. When your dog lies down, say yes and give him the treat from the hand behind your back. Soon you can trade the treats for just your praise, and your dog will down for you when you ask him to. If your dog already knows sit and down, you can improve his skills by adding a stay. When teaching stay, you'll be working on the 3 Ds: distance, duration, and distractions. You can work on these 3 things independently or during the same session. When you first start working on stay, begin inside your home in a small room with minimal distractions. As the days progress, you'll increase the distraction factor. When you're ready to graduate to the outside, start in an enclosed, safe area. You may also want to keep your dog on a leash at all times for extra control. First, try getting your dog to sit and wait for 5 seconds. After each successful sit, calmly say yes and reward him with a yummy treat. Now mix things up and try different ways to increase your dog's ability to stay in the sit position while increasing distractions. Sit while you take 1 step back and return, say yes and reward. Sit while you take 2 steps back and return, say yes and reward. Now try stepping to the left or right. Say yes and reward. Next, increase the amount of time you ask for sit to about 8 seconds. Say yes and reward. Then increase the amount of distance. Try sit while you take 2 steps back or 2 steps to the right and return. Say yes and reward. Now try sit while you turn your back, step away, and return. Say yes and reward. If you find that any of the previous steps are too much for your dog, simply break them down into smaller steps. For example, if sitting for 5 seconds is too long, try 3 seconds. After you have success with 3 seconds at least twice, try 5 seconds again. When working on distance, start with just a step. If that's too much and your dog is already popping up, try just lifting your foot off the ground. Work your way up to several feet. Remember, start small and work your way up. Over the next several days, slowly increase the distance, duration, and distractions. Here are some ideas to keep you going. Practice at the front door, at your car, or in the park. Try hopping as you move away, or clapping your hands, bouncing a ball, or even carrying a grocery bag. Remember to praise. I can't emphasize this enough. Let your dog know you're having fun. In just a short time, you should be able to walk 20 steps away from your dog while clapping your hands and walking toward a door. Or maybe even better. First, give your dog the signal to down. Next, wait for her hips to shift to the left or right so that she's in a more relaxed position. This will give you a better feel for which direction she'd be more comfortable rolling. If your dog is reluctant to swing her hips to one side or the other, try this. Place a tasty treat in your closed fist and slowly wave your arm in front of her nose, moving left to right around her head until her hips relax in one direction. Now we'll lure your dog into the sleeping position. Move the treat in your closed fist from your dog's nose back toward her shoulder. Continue to circle the treat toward her head and then down to the floor, ending up at the tip of her nose. Calmly tell her, "Good girl," pet her belly, and give her the treat when her head is resting on the ground. Repeat these steps a few times, each time moving a little faster. Now do the same hand motions without the treat in your hand. Repeat a few times. Just as her head moves toward the ground, add your cue, take a nap. In just a short time, your dog can do this. First, give your dog the signal to down. Next, wait for his hips to shift to the left or right so he's in a more relaxed position. This will give you a better feel for which direction he'd be more comfortable rolling. If your dog is reluctant to swing his hips to one side or the other, try this. Place a tasty treat in your closed fist and slowly wave your arm in front of his nose, moving left to right around his head until his hips relax in one direction. Now move the treat in your closed fist from your dog's nose back toward his shoulders. Continue to move the treat across his shoulders until he lays on his side and then rolls over. Tell him what a great dog he is and then give him the treat. Only roll your dog on soft surfaces like carpet or grass so he doesn't hurt his back. Some dogs don't like to roll all the way over. It can be uncomfortable for them. So try it a few times. If he doesn't seem to want to go all the way over, consider a different trick. Repeat these steps a few times, each time moving a little faster. With a little practice, your dog can do this. First, give your dog the signal to down. Next, sit to the side of your dog, holding a treat in your fist just in front of your dog's nose at ground level. Now, slowly drag the treat forward away from your dog's nose. Just as your dog leans his head forward, say yes and reward him with the treat. Repeat this again, this time waiting until your dog sticks his neck out just a bit further. Say yes and reward. As you pull your hand out further and further, you can shimmy the treat from side to side to help be a bit more enticing. Each time you'll want your dog to go a bit further until he creeps forward. When he does, say yes and reward. Now it's time to add your cue. Just as your dog starts to creep forward, say crawl. Soon he'll know what you're asking him to do, and will do it on command. If your dog stands up, don't worry. Remember, this is just a trick. Simply bring your dog back to where you started and only give the treat when he keeps his belly on the ground. Now once your dog is crawling a few feet forward, start to stand up as you say crawl. In just a short time, your dog can do this. Start by having your dog sit and face you. Gently lift his paw with your hand. praise, and give a treat. Repeat this until your dog is comfortable with you reaching for his paw. Now we're going to lighten your touch. So using just one finger, lift your dog's paw into your hand. Your dog will likely start to lift his paw on his own, eager to get his treat. Reward your dog the moment he offers his paw to your hand. Next, try reaching toward his paw with your hand stretched out without touching your dog. Reward your dog when he offers his paw on his own. Now you're ready to finish up. Begin by motioning with your palm up in a backward wave, and add your verbal cue, wave. Generously reward your dog for raising or waving his paw even just a little bit. The higher he raises his paw, the more generous and excited you should get. Finally, practice until you can stand a couple of feet away while asking your dog to wave. In a short time, your dog can do this. While your dog is standing, take a tasty treat in your fist to lure your dog. Next, lure your dog's nose down. Move your hand quickly toward the ground. As your dog lowers his head, say, take a bow. You'll want your dog's front legs to stretch out, elbows touching the ground. Now hold your hand down there for a second and then give him the treat. Repeat this step 3 times and try to wait a second or two before giving the treat so your dog will hold the bow position longer. Each time tell him, good boy, gently pet him, and give him the treat when his head is resting on the ground. Now do the same hand motions without the treat in your luring hand and reward from your other hand. Repeat a few times and say, take a bow, just as he lowers the front half of his body down. Once your dog seems to get it, you're ready to wrap things up. Don't bring your empty hand all the way to the floor this time. Instead, with each repetition, bring your hand up a little higher than it was the time before, until you're standing up straight. Then cross that arm across your waist while taking a bow. In just a short time, your dog can do this.
Dogs can enrich our lives by providing love, companionship, and loyalty. Therefore, you owe it to your dog to provide him with a healthy and active lifestyle. You also need to teach him what behaviors are acceptable in your home. In short, a healthy, well-trained dog can be the difference between having a pet in your home or an additional member of your family. On behalf of everyone here at Animal Planet, we'd like to thank you for watching. Good luck and enjoy your dog.
Drops it, praise him, and give him the word right back. Immediately start another game of tug. Your dog is much more likely to give up this toy easily if he thinks you can get it right back.
Okay, yeah, the dog, we probably want him up and more active.
Okay, action.
Hey man, you alright?
At least it wasn't Kellyanne this time.
No direction? But be sure to do this immediately. I totally forgot it, you can't read it. By doing this, I was trying to make it up. Too bad I'm not a ventriloquist. Maybe like this. Maybe just
Action. You got me all wigged out!
Inside, there's an announcer trying to get out. Thank you, Tracy. Let's review, ladies and gentlemen. First, prevent inappropriate chewing.